And I just wanted to mention, as a parent, which I don't know if any of you maybe possibly heard my daughter come in just to say hi very loud during somebody's talk. But one of the things that we do a lot is the tensing and relaxing, because you can really do it anytime you start to notice yourself. As scientists or as people with a science background, I think we are always all looking for that little thing that we can be doing that makes a difference. And it's a repeatable, viable, very clear connection between this cause and this effect, because we are always looking for a real significant relationship in what we do with what we see happening. So some of what I'll be talking about today is more along those lines. And then I also wanted to say that we also, just the other day, my mom, who happens to be also an Ananda meditation teacher and counselor, she and myself and my daughter were in the car, and we were doing even count measured breathing. And why is that? Because we all started to get that feeling of my heart rate is going, my emotional state is getting lifted into a more tense state. We were, voices were raising. So we looked for our cues and we said, I think that we might need to start some even count breathing. And there we were. And we did our snapping, and we did it just short enough for my daughter to participate, but it made a huge difference. We were all changed just from that moment. So just to reiterate that a lot of what we're learning today are simple things that you can plug in into your very busy life. And I will say that just as a mom, I'm always looking for ways to fit in meditation, especially Hong Sa, which we'll do together later, which is a very important technique for concentration and focus and to feel more calmness, but also using affirmations and yoga in itself, and then the even count breath. So I just am really excited to share with all of you. Like Simon said, this is just really my joy to be here and to give this back to all of you who are giving so much. So just a little background very briefly. I just wanted to say that when I began to meditate, it changed my life. And it didn't even have to be much. It was just the idea that in the day, I started my day with a little meditation and I ended my day with a little meditation. And I just started to see things shift. And I think a lot of people share that testimony. So it's not just myself, but it's probably why a lot of you are here, is because you either know someone who meditates and you know that it helped them. You've heard about it. You've seen the studies that have been out. Numerous studies, they've almost exploded since 2000, in how meditation is just so important and life-changing. And just wanted to share that what a lot of people talk about is the sense of busyness in the US, but it's beyond. It's the whole Western world, really. It's the idea, well, it could be everybody on the planet. The idea that if we don't go within and find a state of balance, our pHs rise, our heartbeat gets fast, we get, the emotional state. If we don't find that and learn how to control it and be able to get into that warrior state of mind where we can live with strength and hope and courage, then we just end up getting caught up in that wave that just goes out into the world. I myself have noticed that even when just becoming a parent, the amount of meditation going down, the number of times that I've been caught up in that feeling of restlessness has just gone whoop, exponential. Another nice little statistical note that I found. So just another little story about this kind of idea of go, go, go. In public health school, we were asked to look at an area of research that was very well established, and then to do our own qualitative research to go deeper into the why behind this kind of finding that there was. And so one of the examples that came to me that was relevant to today was there was, very common large research area about the reason behind type 2 diabetes in immigrant populations, people coming to the US and changing from perhaps a really awesome diet that was founded in their culture, really deep history, and that had been throughout the ages, had kind of come into play because it was very balancing. And then coming to the US and then being exposed to different foods, fast food, processed food that's just grab and eat kind of stuff. And why was there, this rise in type 2 diabetes the longer that people had stayed in the US? And so what we found while we were interviewing people we were especially looking at Puerto Rican families because it was in Boston where I was in school, and there's a large group of people that come to the US straight from Puerto Rico to Boston. And there was time and time again the same story. It's this expectation of go, go, go. I felt like I was constantly going from work to picking up my kids to coming home to having to eat dinner, then working more, going to bed, repeat, same thing next day. And so that's just what we want to break, is that cycle of go, go, go. And so just like we did in that study, I want to do a little qualitative research with all of you about why you're here today. Because what I'm hoping is that by doing this exercise, you'll be able to have a lasting why that you can use to fuel your moving forward. Because what will make this sustainable and what will make it something that you remember to do, because I will admit there's days where if someone's sick in the family, it's hard to even remember whether or not you've meditated that day, because you may or may not have gotten any sleep. Night becomes day. And it's the same thing for anyone working overnight shifts. It's like, I don't know what day it is or what time it is. So thank goodness I know it's Sunday. It's probably about 1 o'clock. So that's good. But we just need to know and find that why, because if we know in our mind that meditation is good. But what we need to do is learn in our heart, because our heart, even in public health school, I did health communications. And what we talked about time and time again is we know these things, but what makes somebody take action? It's the heart. It's our ability to know why we're doing what we're doing and the love of doing it. I would love to encourage all of you to find a love for meditation, for example. But anyway, what I'd like to do now is a little exercise. So I'm going to give you a moment to grab a piece of paper, or you could even just use your phone. I often just open the Notes app on my phone and just, take a moment to get what you need. And while you're doing that, I'll just share. They did a lot of research in business. Specifically, they were looking at successful companies that could really, reach their audience, connect with their audience, and build longevity. So think about that as far as sustainability in our case. And what they found was that companies, especially like Apple, which is, everybody knows Apple around the world and about their brand, a little Apple. My daughter goes, why is the Apple, does it have a bite out of it? So even little ones are thinking about the Apple logo. But they found that the why, it had to do with the connection that they had done to express that why to their audience. And then that's what created this incredible bonding and connection that lived on throughout that person's life. Some people, they go again and again back to Apple, and that's part of it. They share that why, they share the heart. And so you're kind of surrounded by people right now who share the why of meditation. All of us practice meditation daily and have been for years. And so that's a really, really important thing to remind yourself, is that you're not alone. And we have lots of ways to support you and want to continue to support you even after today. So now that you've probably gotten your paper and pen, I want you to just take a moment. You can do what we did earlier with Simon's exercise. Just close your eyes and just bring to mind that moment when you decided you would come today and what maybe was going through your mind. And now I'd like you to just write that down. And, just as an example, it could be that you do want to decrease stress. It could be that you want to be able to separate work from home, or it could be that you want to share meditation with others and you want to learn more about it. Or it could just be to, I don't know, not be so affected by these crazy circumstances in your day. I know what the stories that Shanti shared and what Simon shared, it just is a really good reminder of the kinds of situations people face on a daily basis, and how I would just imagine that would just become over time so hard to have to face each day and wake up each day and know you're going right into that battlefield. So go ahead and write that down however you need to. And then what I'd like you to do now is go ahead and expand that why out. So if everybody started to meditate or if you started to meditate, let's go backtrack. If you started to meditate, what would that do to your life, to the people around you? Or what would it do for them, not to them? Because when we meditate, we can start to see that our peace and our joy starts to touch the people around us. So what would happen in your family or at your workplace? I want you to think about that why for the world, and just write that down as well. And now what I'd like for you to do is take that, hopefully either if it's on a piece of paper or if it's on a virtual document or note, I want you to have that somewhere where you'll be able to either open it on your app each morning and before you go to bed, or if it's on a piece of paper, put it somewhere, or maybe take it from your note and put it somewhere physical, just so that you can see it. Because one thing that we know with the studies and research that has been done on the effectiveness of positive thinking is that if you can do it at a time of day, even for studying for exams, they have proven if you do it right before bed and right upon waking, that's the best time to learn your GRE words. That's when our memory can like take a visual and bring it into the subconscious mind to change habits. And so that's really important because you want to make this a priority, then try to find ways to remind yourself. So thanks to all of you for participating in that. And the other thing about our why is that, just like Samiran was saying, this is a battlefield. And being a warrior is not something simple and easy. It takes energy. And that's another theme that's come up with Shanti's talk and with Simon. We need to have the right energy to face the battle. And so I'm going to just be talking about supportive things that we can do to help us want to meditate, to keep our energy high. Because also, what Shanti was alluding to, and even from personal experience, there are days when you just feel down, you feel too anxious to even remember or to even want to sit down to meditate. And so we are going to do what we can to help strengthen you by giving you, as they say, little tools for your tool belt of daily life, so that you can, instead of feeling the energy drop during the day where you just kind of can't make it work. I don't know if you've had days like that where you just stuff isn't working. It's just not in harmony. And you want to bring the energy up so that you can, even if something bad happens, you can go, all right, I'm going to reset and I'm going to keep going up because I want to feel my joy again. I want to have peace again. And it can be moment to moment. It doesn't have to be just you start your day right. You have to learn to remind yourself throughout the day. And that's why routine is so important. If we want it to be sustainable, there's really excellent research, especially in, interestingly enough, weight loss studies and also psychological studies that were done on what made somebody successful in a new behavior change. And so they found that it was habit. So you think about that, routine and habit really go together, because when you create good habits, the routine emphasizes those. So for example, whenever I realize that I'm starting to slip in the amount of time that my meditations are, what I end up doing is I say, well, am I having a good routine? Does my day have a flow where, I am sticking to it and building on those good habits? And that's where you can start to strengthen yourself so that when something stressful does happen, it could maybe want to throw you off and you say, I'm just too tired or too stressed to meditate. But what starts to occur over time is that because you've been doing it at the same time every day, whether or not it's 1 minute, 5 minutes, half an hour, 1 hour, 4 hours, I don't know about anybody here, but that would be really neat, but not really realistic for many of us. But still, it could be a goal. And the way to get there is by building. These are the building blocks for building a routine. So just a story. Again, in the beginning, I talked about how you want to kind of be your own experiment, be your own scientist in the laboratory of your own experience. That's something Yogananda encouraged us to all be our own scientists when it comes to the path of self-realization or meditation in this case. And so I did a little experiment as a parent, and that experiment had to do with uh, feeling like things were stressful at my house with a small child who couldn't sleep well at night. And so what I was doing was realizing that because her sleep was unpredictable, my routine to meditate was becoming unpredictable. So what I had to do was find a break in my day. And so when I was thinking about all of you, I thought, what are some breaks in the day for many of you? And Shanti mentioned, being in the linen closet. But also I was thinking, what about like washing our hands? We may not be able to sit and meditate, but that's a good opportunity for even count breathing. It could be a good opportunity for the tense and relax. But just remembering to find those pauses and to give them power by capturing them and using them for your routine. So I was thinking, basically I wake up and we've had this on and off wake ups all night. So whether or not I wake up to my alarm, I just don't know some days. Then I get in the car or on a bicycle because I was living in at UC Davis on campus, go to work full time. Another trick is if you are a parent, sometimes, where at your place of work, there's the nursing room for mothers. That's a good place to meditate if they allow other people in there. Or the chapel, sometimes at a hospital. Simon was mentioning this the other day, that he would go into the chapel at hospitals. That's another little spot where you could find. So a good little environment wherever you are. I'm always looking wherever I go for a place I might be able to meditate there if I have 5 or 10 minutes. And then I noticed, okay, so when I get home from work, that's where I see a little pause. It's when I'm in the car still and it's quiet and I haven't yet gone into my house where it's very loud and might be on and off inconsistent until bedtime. So I started to take that chance and I stopped and I meditated. And just by doing that, what do you think might have happened? Because my energy changed. So instead of carrying in the stress from the day, I brought in a sense of peace and a very present uh, state of being and awareness with my daughter. And she started to calm down. And you know what? I think I could say this accurately. I felt like I gained time in my day because even though you hear that all the time, I just don't have time to meditate. Well, what happened was she calmed down. I had more energy. So when she fell asleep, it was easier and quicker. And I didn't feel as exhausted because of mental fatigue from stress. And there, oh my gosh, I found 15 minutes to meditate. And then, of course, I crashed because of sleep deprivation. But there you have it. It gave me another chance to meditate. And so I just want to encourage everybody, because we can be our own scientists and we can see what happens when we start bringing daily meditation into our life. And ideally, you can start and end your day with it, or you can have a break during the midday on your lunch, just before you eat your first bite. At least practice gratitude and maybe even some tensing and relaxing. And that could be the way you start. And I actually want to skip ahead to something because one of the things that made me think of is this concept of the 1% solution. And that's the idea that even if you take little things that can be those improvements, like I was just mentioning, and you start them just with the thought, I'm just going to give it 1% effort to improve on this. They did there's a neat study about the British national cycling team. They wanted to become the world champion within 5 years. And so they did this strategy. They started thinking, what is something I can improve by just 1%? And what happened was that they didn't become world champions in 5 years. They became world champions in 3. And the way they did it was by improving tiny things throughout their day that had to do with their cycling capabilities to improve. So making sure their gear was better. For us, that could be making sure we have a good place to meditate, putting a picture up that we like, or putting an inspiring book on our desk. 1% improvements. And that is not so scary, and it's very doable. And so having that mindset is really important, because I think one of the things that stops people the most is the thought that I don't have enough time, so why bother? But we just want to encourage you to try to make it happen, because a meditation is well done if all you did was fight distraction. And so just a little fun story about that, and let me just make sure, I want to make sure Narayan and others still have time to share the affirmation at the end. But we, there's a little story about somebody. He was a little smaller child student at a Buddhist monastery, and they were teaching him to meditate, but they had him do a little exercise where every time he had a thought, he was supposed to draw a little circle or a little dot on his piece of paper. And so he, at first, they gave him a few minutes to do that, and his paper wasn't really that dotted. It was just, here and there, maybe a few. As time went on and he learned to meditate and he practiced, something interesting happened each day that he put the dots on the paper. They actually became more and more filled with dots. And what was happening was that it wasn't that he wasn't doing a good job of learning to meditate. It was that as he learned to meditate, he was more aware of all the thoughts he was having in each moment. And so that sort of speaks to what Simon was trying to get us to do, which is, learn to be observe your thoughts, because that's the awareness of those is what's going to help you to then control them. And then just to backtrack, these are some of the things that I've found to support myself and my experience, but also there's research behind each of these for how anything that makes you have better energy, strengthens your mind, it's strengthening your body so you have greater energy. Those things are what are going to help you maintain positive new habits. So there isn't a quick fix, as we all know, to a life that feels more harmonious and more joyful or more peaceful. We have to put our energy out. And so it's a holistic experience. That's why this program is wellness, mind, body, and soul, is because it's not just one thing. It's really a lifestyle when it comes down to it. It's, having positive thoughts, learning to fit meditation into your daily life, and then all the things like yoga and the physical things we can be doing to encourage those habits. So what we're going to be able to have now is an opportunity to put it all together with Nayaswami Narayan. And I did want to just take the opportunity to mention before he shares that there is an app. It's called the Ananda Meditation app. And I know I'm small, but I just wanted to show you. It's really easy to use, and it actually has a tracking function and an alarm clock to remind you. And it has a lot of different guided meditations at all different lengths. So it's really great for anybody that's in circumstances like many of you are, where you need to fit this in wherever you can, but also to be reminded when you have those moments of predictability, like I was mentioning, you've got to use your searchlight of life to find those points. And then we'll also be including the link to the wellness toolkit again, and that will also take you to the app itself. And then this is just a lasting thought I wanted to bring in, which is that as we do this meditation practice and we do it over time, what you'll find is that you start to feel like what Samiran said, the calm, to be calmly active and actively calm. So it's really being able to have that meditation and then take it and bring it into your moment with your patient or your loved ones. And so now I'll just take a moment to thank all of you and to just share. I hope that you feel empowered to be a cause in the world and not just an effect. So taking back control as your warrior spirit and your warrior nature, and to be able to share that with others.